Okay, we're all set, Mayor.
Okay, well, thank you, Larry. And I would like to call to order the October 13th meeting of the Common Council. It is 7:32. If you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, if you'll please call the roll, read the prepared statement.
This meeting is being recorded for rebroadcast. We ask everyone to speak clearly one at a time. Please state your name when called upon by the presiding chair. Members of the public can access this meeting by telephone, Zoom, and/or the City of Norwalk YouTube channel. There is a link with specific instructions on it. Thank you. Greg Burnett,
President.
Ms. Johnson,
Here.
Mr. Langella,
Here.
Mr. Sacchinelli,
Present.
Ms. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Huvelman,
Present.
Mr. Roberts,
Present.
Ms. Revolis,
Here.
Ms. Young,
Here.
Mr. Kides,
Here.
Mr. Theodorides,
Here.
Mr. Keegan.
Here.
Mr. Sirenides,
Here.
Mr. Livingston,
Here.
Ms. Shanahan.
Here.
15 present, you have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the acceptance of the minutes from the regular meeting of September 22nd, 2020. Do I have a motion? Motion made by Ms. Shanahan. Any corrections, omissions, deletions, or additions? Seeing none, Ms. King, would you call the roll for a vote of the approval of the minutes?
Sorry about that.
Yep.
Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Langella,
Yes.
Mr. Sacchinelli,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Huvelman,
Aye.
Mr. Roberts,
Aye.
Ms. Revolis,
Here, I'm sorry.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Kides,
Yes.
Mr. Theodorides,
Yes.
Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Sirenides,
Yes.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan.
Yes.
Unanimous, Mayor.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public participation. Do we have anybody who has signed up to speak, Mr. Manzi?
We do have one person, two attendees. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand electronically and I will unmute you. No, I don't see anyone, Mayor, that's raising their hand.
Ms. King, do we have any correspondence that has been submitted for entry into the record?
No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda will be resignations and appointments. We have one appointment through the Conservation Commission for Mr. John Levin. Mr. Keegan?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Levin's resume certainly shows he's well qualified to serve on our Conservation Commission. But I believe it's what doesn't show up on Mr. Levin's resume that stands out. I think it's the fact that Mr. Levin cares very deeply about our city and he wants very much to serve the public. And you, Mayor Railing, you said it best. You said, John Levin, I think, will do a real good job. And I agree. It's my privilege to move John Levin's name forward for nomination to the Conservation Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Keegan. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. King?
Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Langella,
Yes.
Mr. Sacchinelli,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Huvelman,
Aye.
Mr. Roberts,
Aye.
Ms. Revolis,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Kites,
Yes.
Mr. Theodorides,
Yes.
Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Serenides,
Yes.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan,
Yes.
unanimous, Mayor.
Unanimous, thank you all, and congratulations, and thank you to Mr. Levin. Under the mayor's remarks, I have the sad duty to report the loss of one of our fine upstanding citizens in the city of Norwalk. Most of you know Tony Mobilia. Last Friday, Tony passed away. He was a Norwalk man of true service. Served his country in the Army during Vietnam. He served this city in many capacities over the 50 years that he and his family lived here. It's my pleasure to know Tony and to appoint him and reappoint him to the Harbor Management Commission, where he held leadership positions. His passion for the water and boating were only matched by his love of art. He was a kind and gentle man, and he will be missed. He was the art director for several New York City advertising firms and retired from Gray Advertising in 2001 as vice president and creative supervisor. As an artist, Tony was a member of the St. Philip Artists Guild, SPAG. He and fellow artists took part in a range of artistic activities, including painting canvases in oil, watercolors, and acrylics. His most recent favorite projects were the Traffic Graphic Public Arts Project on utility boxes around the city of Norwalk, as well as the canvases that adorn the barriers down on Washington Street in front of the restaurants. He will be truly missed, and our condolences go out to his wife of 55 years, who most of you also know, Dorothy Mobilia. If I could have a moment of silence in honor and memory of Tony. Thank you. May he rest in peace. Only a few other remarks that I have. As you know, we did a code red announcement today, both in English and Spanish, because we have seen a trending uptick in the coronavirus cases in the city of Norwalk. This past week, we had 61 cases and another 19, I believe, today. In the past, when we were at our low in the summer, not 1 week did we go over 20 cases. So it's obvious that the medical professionals who study the trends of the virus were correct, that they predicted that in the fall and winter, we would see an uptick. So I encourage all Norwalk residents, all members of the council to spread the word. And please ask people to continue doing the things that we know have worked. Governor Lamont has made some very difficult decisions, as we have here in the city of Norwalk. And those difficult decisions, while being not very pleasant, had an effect. We flattened the curve quickly, and we saw that the curve remained flat for quite a while. So now we're starting to see that uptick, and we need to keep doing the things that we know worked and worked well. So please pass the word, common council members, to your constituents on your Facebook pages and every place that you can think, asking people to continue doing those things, the social distancing, wearing face coverings and approved masks while out in public, frequently washing your hands, using hand sanitizers, and most importantly, trying to avoid large crowds of people. Also, tomorrow, the Connecticut Food Bank will be holding a drive-through food distribution event at Vets Park from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. A note to the voters, to the boaters. The ramps will be closed tomorrow, and they're going to be distributing approximately 50,000 meals. This is the third such food drive that we've had here in the city of Norwalk, and it shows that there is food insecurity in Fairfield County. And I'm very proud of Norwalk and our volunteers and the people here in the Common Council who come out and help distribute those meals. And I want to thank you. Remember that all registered voters have been sent absentee ballot applications by the Secretary of State. You can receive an absentee ballot by citing that you have health COVID-19 concerns. The city has received more than 14,000 applications thus far. Completed ballots can be mailed back to the town clerk's office at City Hall, or they can be left in the secure drop boxes outside of City Hall, the Norwalk Public Library, the main library, and the police department. That is all I have. So I will now turn the floor over to the council president, Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing tonight, and so we'll just move right to the consent calendar. Tonight being read by Mr. Kites.
Thank you. Okay, item 1 under Corporation Counsel, authorized to settle claim Polito versus Sharon versus City of Norwalk, docket number noted. Now down to Public Works, item 1, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a sole source purchase order to Cargill Salt Road Safety for treated road salt for snow and ice control, pricing not to exceed $82 per ton for normal and after hour deliveries effective for the 2020-21 winter season, account number noted. Item 2, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Gabrielli Truck Sales, Milford, Connecticut, for the purchase of one 2024 Super Duty F-250 XL regular cab for the price not to exceed $39,799, account number noted. Item 3, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all necessary documents for local transportation capital improvement program, grant state projects L102-004 East Wall Street Landmark Safety, Accessibility, and Streetscape Improvement Projects. Item 4, technical correction of the Common Council action of September 8, 2020. Item 5A and 5B to add account designated to project DRG 2020-1 on-call drainage improvements at various locations, account number noted. And 4A is authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement between the city of Norwalk and M. Rondano, Inc. for the project DRG 2020-1 on-call drainage improvements at various locations for a sum not to exceed $954,320, account numbers noted. Okay, and item 4B, authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on the contract with M. Rondano, Inc. for project DRG 2020-1 on-call drainage improvements at various locations for a sum not to exceed $95,500, account numbers noted. Item 5, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Gabrielli Truck Sales of Milford for the purchase of one 2020 Mack GR42FR plow truck for a sum not to exceed $231,864, account numbers noted. Item 6, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Gabrielli Truck Sales of Milford for the purchase of a 2021 F550 chassis and regular cab for a sum not to exceed $180,381, account number noted. Item 7, authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute First Amendment to the contract with WSP USA Inc. for State Project 102-360 traffic signal upgrade and installation of dynamic message systems for an amount not to exceed $20,800, account number noted. All right, down to Health and Public Safety Committee. We have item B1A1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents necessary to apply for and accept grant funds from the Connecticut Department of Public Health for Immunization Action Plan Program in the amount of $804,473 for the period of July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2024. Item B1B, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute any and all agreement documents, instruments, or amendments to as may be necessary to implement the Immunization Action Plan Program for the period July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2024. Item 2, authorize Harry W. Rilling to execute a license agreement with Fair and Impartial Policy LLC for training services and related materials for use in implicit bias awareness training program. Okay, now moving on to Land Use and Building Management Committee. Item C1A, authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute an agreement with Salamone and Associates PC for the Brian McMahon High School Indoor Air Quality Services for a total not to exceed $12,960, account number noted. Item C1B, authorize Norwalk Public Schools Facilities Department to issue change orders on contract for a total not to exceed $2,500. Finance and Claims Committee, item D. D1, accept and approve the report of the Claims Committee dated October 8, 2020. And item D3, for information purposes only, monthly tax collectors report dated September 2020. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kites. I'll go ahead and call for a vote now on the consent calendar as read. Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Langella,
Yes.
Mr. Sachinelli,
Aye.
Mr. Hoovelman,
Aye.
Mr. Roberts,
Aye.
Ms. Revolus,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Kites,
Yes.
Mr. Theodoridis,
Yes.
Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Sirenides,
Yes.
Mr. Livingston,
Yes.
Ms. Shanahan.
Yes.
Consent calendar passes unanimously. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Mr. Burnett, item 7D2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 7D2 for informational purposes only, narrative on tax collections dated October 8th, 2020. On this particular item, the Common Council had authorized a grace period, I should say, on the July 2020 tax warrants or tax bills. And the tax collection date changed from August 1st to October 1st without any interest being applied if you paid by that date. And we have with us tonight our tax collector, Lisa Biazzarelli, along with our Chief Financial Officer, Henry Dakowitz, to provide us a little more information, commentary on the process and the results in terms of where we stand in terms of our tax collection at this point. Lisa, over to you.
Good, Mayor and Council. Henry, do you want to start? I would turn it over to Henry first, and then I'll finish up.
I defer to you. You're the expert.
Okay. We were a little bit concerned about how this would go since we had never done it before, but the state of Connecticut allowed municipalities to either extend the grace period or charge a lower interest rate through October 1st. We elected to do the extension and not charge any interest at all until October 2nd. We tried to make it as easy as possible for the taxpayers. It was very well received, and we were a little bit concerned throughout the summer because, of course, when you would compare our current collection rate to the prior year, because we had offered a longer grace period this year, it stood to reason that our collection rate would be lower in 2020 than it was for the same time period in 2019. We had told the Finance and Claims Committee when we reported throughout the summer that we would know better where we stand after October 1st, after we closed our month of September, but also after we processed all the payments that were still timely made on October 1st and that came in the mail after October 1st, but bore an October 1 postmark. So to make a long story short, through October 7th, which was the middle of last week, we had collected just over $180 million, which is 51.42% of our levy. It is slightly less than what we had collected through the end of October last year, but we still have the rest of the month to go. It's a little bit less in terms of percentage. It's more in terms of dollars because the levy is bigger this year. We're collecting more taxes this year, but we're here to report to the council that we feel comfortable that the grace period accomplished what we had hoped it would accomplish, and yet did not put the city in any type of financial risk or threaten the integrity of the collection rate that we still hope to achieve and that we are budgeted to achieve. I was a little bit concerned because there was some commentary online that the collection rate was lower than we had expected. And the CFO and I are here to assure you that that is not the case.
Just to embellish just a bit, Lisa's been tracking this weekly since March so that we could look at comparisons last year to this year. We went through COVID, we went through the extension. We're now looking at a total of 32 weeks from the beginning of March through the middle of October. Our collections this year are up by $6.5 million. So we feel comfortable and confident saying that the extension of the grace period achieved its goal, as Lisa indicated, which was to give some relief to our citizens. Having said that, most people have paid their taxes as they have equivalently last year. And from a financial point of view, our revenues are holding up as we had hoped. So it appears that the restraint we showed in increasing the mill rate and the grace period has given some relief and has allowed us to collect on a regular basis, which, given our budgeting, should leave us in good stead for this year.
And I would just add also, the tax collector's office maintained a public presence throughout COVID. So we did open a window to the public that was facing the parking lot. We're planning on moving that window or that station, that payment station inside due to the colder weather. We're probably going to do that after the election. For now, we will still be where we are now, facing the front of the building. You do not have to make an appointment to pay your taxes. You can just walk right up. We're open from 9 to 4, and we will still maintain a presence, no appointment necessary, once we move ourselves into the lobby. But during the colder months, we will still be there. But it was important for us, we felt, not to have to make people make an appointment to come in and pay their taxes. So we will continue to do that. And we've tried to keep things as convenient as possible for the taxpayers. They can also pay online. They can pay by telephone. They can, of course, still mail a check if they so prefer. But to try to give other options in light of the fact that some people are not comfortable with an in-person transaction at all. We will be sending delinquent notices out later this month. We're going to gear up toward our second installment. There is no indication from the state that they are going to allow any type of extended grace period or anything of that nature for the second installment. So we do anticipate those bills going out around the middle of December. They will be technically due January 1st, payable by February 1st, 2021 without any type of extension.
Mr. Burnett? Thank you, Ms. Biagirelli and Mr. Dakowitz.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I'd just like to add my thanks to Lisa and her team for coming up with the innovative solution of opening that window to allowing the Norwalk taxpayers that wish to pay in person to continue to do that during the COVID months during the summer, and continue to have that window available for tax payments. So just want to thank her, Lisa, and her team for that innovation. This particular item is for informational purposes only, so there's no need for a vote. And if there's any questions, we can address them.
Mr. Livingston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, thank Henry and Lisa for all their hard work on this, and thank Lisa for not retiring in your retirement. We all appreciate that. But I guess it's a question. You talk about percentages, and I know it's hard to predict on a year basis, but what does it look like in terms of dollars? Because we set aside an extra amount last year for non-payments and the like. So where are we on that? Again, I know it's a hard question, but what's your sense?
My sense is it's too early to tell because it's only October. I would defer to Henry.
I would say that I would expect our historical collection rate to be achieved. We traditionally have a very high collection rate. We did reduce it in the last days of the budget as preparation in anticipation of unexpected revenue shortfalls or unexpected or unknown expenses due to COVID. As the mayor sadly had to report, we've had this uptick. We're not sure how it's going to affect us financially. So we've tried to be protective of the budget. But on the revenue side, on our real estate taxes, I would have to say so far, so good. I'm pleased with what I've seen so far.
Great. Thank you.
Any further discussion or further questions? Echoing Mr. Burnett, I would also like to thank Ms. Biagirelli and Mr. Dakowitz. I know, Lisa, you and your staff worked very, very hard through the entire time that City Hall was closed to the public. You were there 5 days a week, sometimes more, and you were there many hours a day and into the night. That's true dedication, true professionalism. And I too am very, very glad that you opted out of the incentive plan. So again, thank you for all that you do.
My pleasure. Good to hear.
Seeing that there is no vote necessary, I would now accept a motion. Ms. Shanahan,
Motion to adjourn.
all in favor, please signify by raising your hands or saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The time is 7:59. Thank you all. And we will see you soon.
Thank you. Good night. Stay safe.
Good night.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night.